Welcome to our channel today. We bring you the top 10 most expensive guitars in 2021. Before we continue, please press the subscribe button and the bell notification icon to receive regular updates whenever we upload a video. If you're into guitars, you're aware they may be rather costly. As you progress in the guitar world, better wood, pickups, strings, and build quality and craftsmanship all add up. You won't find any of these guitars in your local guitar shop though, since they are the most sought after on the planet. Here's a list of the 10 most expensive guitars globally, from one-off custom designed guitars from Jerry Garcia to instruments used by rock and roll superstars like Jimi Hendrix and Eric Clapton. Number 10 is Jerry Garcia's custom Doug Irwin Tiger. Price $957.5 thousand. Jerry Garcia was the Grateful Dead's lead guitarist. From 1979 through 1989, he played his custom-made Doug Irwin guitar non-stop. Jerry had commissioned a custom-painted tiger head on the guitar's body, which gave it the moniker Tiger. One of the reasons the custom Doug Irwin sold so much at auction was because it was Jerry's last guitar he ever played in public. In 2002, Guernsey auctioneers sold Jerry Garcia's custom Doug Irwin Tiger to Jim Irsay, owner and CEO of the Indianapolis Colts, for $957,500. Number 9 is Eric Clapton's Blackie. Price $959,000. Next up is Eric Clapton's renowned mix of pieces from 3 different guitars, Blackie. According to legend, Eric Clapton purchased 6 guitars and gave one to each of Pete Townsend, George Harrison, and Steve Winwood. Clapton then created Blackie by patching together components for the remaining 3 guitars. Clapton used this guitar as his primary instrument for numerous years, both live and in the studio, before retiring it in 1985. Clapton's Crossroads Addiction Rehabilitation Facility has long been a passion of his, and he believed it was a good cause to sell off Blackie to help support its continuing operations. It became his most renowned guitar, and he recorded with it in the studio and played it live on several occasions. Clapton retired Blackie in '85 after a successful career and sold it at auction in 2004 for $959,000. Number 8 is Bob Dylan's Newport Folk Festival 1964 Fender Stratocaster. Price $965,000. This instrument is historically significant since it is the first electric guitar that Bob Dylan ever played during a live performance. His own fans booed him on stage for the first time in history because they didn't like his instrument choice. Bob Dylan was recognized as an acoustic folk poet who reflected his generation's voice back in the day, the 1960s. Many people were taken away when he performed with a full electric band at the 1965 Newport Jazz Festival. While the performance did not necessarily herald the end of Dylan's impact, it did demonstrate that he was a real artist prepared to venture into unknown terrain. They were used to acoustic versions of all of his songs, and they made sure to inform him when he came on stage at the Newport Folk Festival in 1965. In addition, Dylan's use of a guitar during this performance signified his move to employing more electronic instruments. The 1964 Fender Stratocaster sold for an astounding $965,000 at auction, thanks to who owned it and the narrative behind it. Number 7 is Keith Richards' 1959 Les Paul. Price $1 million. Keith Richards' 1959 Les Paul is the world's 7th most valuable guitar. Without the aid of a famous name, a standard 1959 Les Paul is valued over 6 figures, and there aren't that many remaining. However, Keith Richards performed it at the Rolling Stones' first appearance on The Ed Sullivan Show, which was a watershed moment in rock and roll history. Many well-known bands and musicians owe a portion of their success to appearances on The Ed Sullivan Show, and collectors and memorabilia investors recognize how such occurrences boost the value of artifacts like Keith Richards' 1959 Les Paul. With that in mind, the instrument fetched a cool $1 million at auction in 2003. Without a famous name connected to it, Keith Richards' 1959 Les Paul is worth more than 6 figures. Nevertheless, Keith Richards used this guitar in the Rolling Stones' initial performance on The Ed Sullivan Show, which is considered a watershed moment in the history of rock and roll. The show made a number of bands and musicians famous, which increased the value of goods like Keith Richards' 1959 Les Paul considerably. The guitar was auctioned off for $1 million in 2003. Number 6 is the 1958 Gibson KORINA Explorer, price $1.1 million. The worth of this 1958 Gibson KORINA Explorers may be linked to the fact that it was played by 3 of the finest guitarists in the world. Slash, Kirk Hammett, and Rick Nelson have all played this guitar at some time in their lives, making it rather unusual. Only 10 of these guitars were ever produced, so it's easy to understand why it sold for $1.1 million at auction, when you consider its rarity and unique form, as well as its playing history. The 1958 Gibson KORINA Explorer is the world's 6th most valuable guitar. The fact that the world's top 3 guitarists played the 1958 Gibson KORINA Explorer adds to its worth, those 3 being Kirk Hammett, Rick Nielsen, and Slash. This guitar is unique because all 3 musicians throughout their careers performed with it. The 1958 Gibson KORINA Explorers were only produced in small numbers, which is why it sold for $1.1 million at auction. Its value stems from its unique history, rarity, and odd form. Number 5 is Bob Marley's Washburn 22 Series Hawk, price $1.2 million. Bob Marley's Washburn 22 Series Hawk is ranked number 5 in our list of the most expensive guitars in the world. Bob Marley, arguably the most famous reggae performer of all time, only had 7 guitars throughout his lifetime. One of these was the Hawk Washburn 22 series, which he handed to Gary Clausen, his guitar technician. The Jamaican government is said to have acquired the guitar at auction for between $1.2 and $2 million after declaring it a national treasure. The guitar's exact location, however, remains unclear to this day. Number 4 is Jerry Garcia's Wolf, price $1.9 million. Another bespoke Doug Irwin called Wolf is Jerry Garcia's second instrument on our list of the world's most expensive guitars. The moniker Tiger, like his bespoke Doug Irwin, comes from a unique wolf artwork on the guitar's body. Wolf was sold for over $2 million at auction in 2002 as part of a Southern Poverty Law Center fundraiser. Depending on its condition, Wolf might be worth considerably more now. Number 3 is Jimi Hendrix's 1968 Fender Stratocaster, price $2 million. The basic right-handed Stratocaster with Olympic white finish is nothing special when compared to some of the other guitars on this list. On the other hand, Jimi Hendrix played it at the 1969 Woodstock Music Festival when he gave his iconic rendition of the Star-Spangled Banner. Paul Allen, the co-founder of Microsoft, bought the guitar in '98 for almost $2 million because of its unique history. It's one of those things where you'd do anything if you had the chance. Number 2 is John Lennon's 1962 Gibson J160E Acoustic-Electric, price $2.4 million. It has to be something unique for the only acoustic guitar to enter our list of the most expensive guitars in the world, and boy, is it spectacular. The Gibson J160E electric acoustic guitar, purchased by John Lennon and George Harrison in London in '62, was one of a pair of almost similar acoustic guitars. It was used to co-compose Beatles songs like I Saw Her Standing There and She Loves You with Paul McCartney. However, following a performance by the Beatles in 1963, the guitar vanished and was lost, only to reappear many years later. The acoustic guitar went on to sell for $2.41 million at auction in 2014, up from its initial price of £161 in 1962. Number 1 is Reach Out to Asia Fender Stratocaster, priced at $2.7 million. The Reach Out to Asia Fender Stratocaster, which sold for $2.7 million in 2015, is the most expensive guitar in the world. This guitar was created as part of Bryan Adams' Reach Out to Asia project, which was established to aid victims of the Indian Ocean earthquake and tsunami of 2004. It is believed that 230,000 people were murdered in 14 nations as a result of this disaster. This guitar is a one-of-a-kind since it bears the autographs of some of the most well-known rock artists all over its body. Jimmy Page, Mick Jagger, Eric Clapton, Keith Richards, Brian May, David Gilmour, Jeff Beck, Liam Gallagher, Angus and Malcolm Young, and Bryan Adams are among the 19 artists who signed it. In 2015, Sotheby's sold the Fender Stratocaster for $2.7 million, making it the most expensive guitar in the world at the time. The Fender Stratocaster was born as part of Bryan Adams' Reach Out to Asia tour, which eventually raised funds for the 2004 Indian Ocean earthquake and tsunami victims, which killed over 230,000 people in 14 countries. Thanks for watching the video. Comment down below which part do you like the most, or click on the thumbs up button if you like the video.